Good evening and welcome to episode 16 of Podcast for Dads. You are joined by Jay and Bav. Bav, how are you doing, brother?
I'm good, bro. How are you?
I'm good, man. Good week, good week. Feel a bit vibed.
Busy?
It's been busy. I won't say I've been as productive as I was last week, but obviously we've had a few more milestones with the little man this week, so I've been a bit distracted. How about
Just
you?
a bit.
Just a bit, yeah. Well, he started feeding on solids. Like, he turned 5 months yesterday.
Girl
So
sick.
yeah, man. Like on Monday, Reshma was like, "Should we give him a shot? Should we give him a shot?" We found some things that were like 4 months plus. So his solid journey has now begun.
But honestly, that's a game changer because now you want to try different foods each day, every day, all week, different times. You're like, all right, let's try this in the morning, afternoon, evening. As the
This is
weeks
it, man.
go on, you're gonna keep trying more and more. And then once his teeth start coming out, you can give him more things to kind of bite on and actually get his teeth into it.
This is it. So like Monday, we started him off. We tried banana porridge, which he lapped up and loved that. On Tuesday, Reshma tried some normal porridge. He didn't seem to be such a fan. Yesterday, we gave him some Heinz apple and blackberry, blueberry mushed up, and
Yeah.
mate, he loved that. And then today, he tried pear. At first, on its own, it was like, I'm not too sure about this one. It was just sitting on the edge of his lip, and then we mixed it in with that Heinz thing again, and boy, before you knew it, it was gone.
It was gone. Yeah.
Yeah, like don't get me wrong, he's not having a lot. Like we give him like 2 spoons worth. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But mate, like just to think like it's been 5 months already, and he's already at the stage where we're now weaning him, and he's going on to solids. It's just mind blowing, man.
But the time has gone so quick, it's unbelievable. Like you look back and you're like, wow, for us it's been what 9.5 months, and you're like, where have those 9.5 months actually gone? There's still
Dude,
people that haven't seen him. There's
trust
so
me.
many things. It's absolute madness.
Like this afternoon, I backed up some pictures that I've been taking on the camera. There's about 3,000 odd pictures over the last 2 months. And out of that, I sifted through about 800 and edited about 100 and just exported those.
How many pictures are you taking?
Bro, like, let's put it into this context. Just yesterday's card alone was about 60 gig. And that was just the pictures. Obviously, when we fed him for the first couple of times, I filmed that as well. Took some slow-mo and things like that. That was about another 30 odd gig. So, you know, data goes quick, bruv.
Bro, that is a big amount of data just going through on like. But it's good. These are the memories you want to capture, right? You want to get these pictures, these videos. It's good
This
you're
is
in the
it, man.
field because you've got the equipment at the go, at the ready. So you don't have to wait for someone to come around and do it for you, right? You've got it all there. So
I
why
mean,
not
it's a blessing and a
utilize it?
curse, man, because you get all these ideas that you want to do, and you think, "Oh, I'll do this, I'll do that," and then before you know it, like the time's already gone. He's already gone through that cycle, and you're like, "Oh, I kind of missed the opportunity to do that now."
But
Do you know
that's
what I
the
mean?
other thing, right? Is like sometimes you're like, oh, I'll do it, and you miss it, and then you're like, oh shit, I had it all here. I should have just done it, whatever. So,
Not even that,
but
but when you sift through the pictures, yeah, you're like, I've taken like 3,000 pictures, and there's only me in like 3 of them. You know what I mean?
yeah, you ain't getting none of them. Mate. You ain't getting none of them. You just put the timer on and then get in the camera with him.
Oh, it's long, bro. It's
Or
never the
just
same.
ask Resh to take the pictures.
It's still never the same. Don't get me wrong, she's got an eye, yeah. She's like, it's not that bad, but it's just not the same, bro. It's
It's
just
not.
not the
No,
same.
that's where the OCD kicks in.
Yeah, man. Well, the fact is, like, you spend so long doing a certain line of work, and you become a bit more intrigued when you see other people doing it, and it's not to your standard, or you would have done it differently.
Yeah.
Especially when it's your wife. Like, sometimes it's hard not to tell her in it, and then that can cause a whole nother argument, which we don't want to get into. So, you
Exactly.
know,
In terms of like you guys are weaning and stuff. Like, what were you using to make his food, like to puree it up? What are you guys using for that, like machinery wise?
so at first you'll boil it, let it cool off, and then blitz it, as far as I know. But we've only tried that with a pear. So like the other stuff was like pre-mix or ready-mix kind of thing.
Yeah.
The Heinz thing was a pouch packet, so that was
Yeah.
just open and ready to go. And I think like the reason why he's enjoyed the Heinz thing a bit more is because it was probably slightly sweeter than the pear stuff that Reshma made at home. Obviously,
Yeah.
you know, we're 2-3 days into this journey now, so
Yeah,
I'm
no,
sure
because
there's a
like
whole
obviously we had this whole discussion about what to buy because obviously there's so many bits and pieces that you can buy for that, like tools and like equipment that goes with it. You know, like a grinding machine and like
Yep.
a
I was
boil
seeing
it
it,
like,
bro.
for boil the food, all that kind of stuff. That's what I'm saying. Like, did you guys see anything that you bought or wanted to buy and stuff like that? Or you looking at
The,
stuff?
well, so far we've only seen stuff in Tesco, and
Yeah.
like when they've got their 10% off or like the club card offers, we'll consider it then. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just
No,
to kind of
because
stockpile the stuff that we might need in the coming months. But there's
yeah,
nothing specifically that we've bought apart from a spoon and a bowl
yeah.
for him for this point. Do you know
No,
what I
like
mean?
even for the prep of the food, like my advice is we bought one of these like blending grinding machines from Argos, really cheap one, and it was either
Yeah.
that or like this really nice flash 150 £200 machine that does X, Y, and Z, warms it up, cools it down, etc. Mate, honestly, don't need it because
So, Tommy, tipping
we've
device by any chance?
I don't know what it was, right? But this one, I don't know what brand this one is, right? But I'll check it out. But it's cheap, cheerful. It did the trick, and now we don't really need to use it because everything can be done in the stuff that we have at home already.
Yeah.
And you'll get to the stage where initially, yes, you're giving him, like you said, 2-3 spoonfuls, but then you're going to be giving him a lot more, and it will keep going. Yeah, it was Tommy Tippy. See, yeah, it's been confirmed. So that one was Tommy, but it was cheap, cheerful. Bought it, used it, but not really used that much now because now it's like things that can be cooked on the gas and stuff like that, which actually it's easier just to do the way we make food rather than make it
Going
special
through
for
the
him.
extra
Yeah,
hassle.
honestly, that's what I would say. If you're looking at anything like that, I don't see much of a point in it. If you guys can have a look.
I
but
mean,
honestly,
hopefully my wife's watching and she gets your hint. Otherwise, you might have to fish that one down later on the line.
yeah, don't worry, I'll speak to her. I'll get Prayer to speak to her.
Innit? Subliminal messages.
And yeah, he doesn't even touch the.
He doesn't like purees.
Nah, now he's got teeth, right? So he wants something he can bite on. He needs to be able to
Yeah.
chomp on it, whether it's like biscuit or whether it's just normal food. He likes khichdi, he will eat that, but he wants to have stuff that he can chew on, bite on properly, rather than this
Yeah.
smashed up. Like he's like, nah, this ain't for me, man. He's
That's
he's
it.
enjoying
This
he's
is-
enjoying himself now, man.
That's it. It's go time, bro. Before you
That's
know
it.
it, he'll be sitting there talking back to you saying, "No, I don't want that."
That's
that.
what I'm no, that's what I'm waiting for now because he tries to do these little sounds like I'm like no, we're not going into this like proper like those kind of like kids like the ones that you go in a supermarket and then start making noise because they're not getting what they want. I was like, whoa, we ain't getting into this, bro. We're not here for this.
That's
was like, we
Jaden
don't
when you
do-
take a bottle
we
out
do-
of his mouth.
I was like, we do not make those sounds, and this is not how we behave, right? But I'm trying to get that through to him from now. Be like, nah, listen, like, no one says no to you for anything. Like, the answer's never no, but it's like, listen, man, there's a time and a place. Like he's got this thing where he loves to. He knows which remote control is for where. So he'll get for the air conditioning. He'll go to it. He'll go for and he goes for the one for the TV. And if someone holds it, he looks at it and he waits for YouTube to come on now. I'm like, this is a habit I can't be getting into, man. You're going to be watching TV constantly now. It's fine if he wants to sit for 5 minutes, quiet, nice, yeah, cool. But after that, it's like, nah, this is not. But
I've already got a smart TV for Jaden that's just been sitting around for the last year or so, bro.
There's no
when
such
he's
thing,
ready,
man.
that's getting plugged up.
Don't do it, man. Don't put him into it, man. But yeah, the other thing at the moment he's getting into is waking up middle of the night and just having the most energy in the world. And I'm talking,
Really?
you can try and sleep through it. It ain't happening. Last night he had us up till 2 o'clock in the morning trying to play with him because he
That's
was
like work,
not.
bro.
No. Not when wake up time thereafter is 6 a.m. Right? So you've got a 4-hour stint to sleep, and that's
Yeah,
it.
that's more than enough.
For who?
Me.
That's you then, isn't it? Like, that's not for
That's
me.
most of my days during the week, bro.
Nah, and it's not even a settled 4 hours, right? You can still hear him making noise because he's in so much pain. So he's just like, what do I do? I might as well just, And now he wakes up and he gets excited, so he's jumping on the bed, and I'm like, we need to get you out of that habit of just waking up. The first thing you do in his cot, he'll get up and just start jumping, and I'm like, what are you
Man.
doing? I'm like, this is not time to be
Calm
playing.
down.
Yeah, not time for jumping. And then you pick him up, and he's like, okay, let's calm down for a bit. And then he's gone again. He's like, all right, let me play. Let me do something. I just want to, which is fine during the day. Happy, be active. But at night time, just know when to sleep and we'll be all right. We'll
What
get
it
through
means
this.
is that you didn't give him enough exercise yesterday during the day, and that he had some excess energy to burn off at night.
Bro, there's so much he does. He's not a kid that's still for 5 minutes. So the energy levels are just through the roof. Like, he can walk on his walker all day and not get tired.
That's like Jaden and Jumperoo, bro. Like, you literally got him in your hands, and he's just sitting there jumping up and down. He's like, all right, bro, I'll get the message. You want to jump back on the Jumperoo for a while, yeah?
Yep.
Cool.
Yep. But watch when they get out of that jumperoo, and then he starts jumping at every given opportunity.
No, he's doing that, bro. He's doing that.
That's it.
That's the sign, innit? Put me back. I'm ready to go. So,
that
right,
jumperoo is a savior. Yeah, let's
spend the whole
go
hour
on.
talking to each other. Let's get our guest on, bro. So this week's guest is a property developer, friend of ours, and he is Shiv Yadave. So Shiv, welcome to the show,
how's
brother.
it going? You alright?
Yeah, very well. How are you?
Yeah, all well. And before I might as well tell you, there's actually a machine called the Biaba, and I might as well get that in now because
Go on, let's hear it.
I know Natasha's going to be watching this, absolutely shouting when you were saying that. So this is a all-in-one machine. It blends it and steams it, but I use it every day. And you just put your potatoes, broccoli, whatever you want to put in it. It'll steam it. If you want to puree it, you basically then just puree it. If you don't want to puree it, you just serve it like that. We will have our own food in there. We'll put potatoes in there and then put it in the oven and roast them.
Nice.
But yeah, Biaba, I had to just put that out there before I forget.
So you used the machine and it worked well for you guys?
Yeah, and we still use it every day. I use it for a breakfast.
See, that's good. Is there, if you get use out of it, it's fine. We got one of those kind of blending machines, grinder ones. It hardly gets used.
Bob goes for the easy breakfast for him right now. Anyway, he just makes
Weetabix. Now Weetabix, man. Porridge is long, right? You still got to do stuff with that. Weetabix is the easier option here, yeah? Weetabix, warm up the milk, put the Weetabix in, ready to go.
He's still young though, man. So Shiv, tell us a little bit about you and the family, man.
So Natasha and I, we've been married for about 6 years. We had Ruhi in 2018. And yeah, no, it's been great. Like Natasha's been working. She was working in Hendon, then she was working at Exec. She's now started a new role at New Look, so that's been going really well. I've been self-employed, working for myself for over 10 years. So in that sense, my stuff's always been in properties. I've been launching other businesses in between, but sort of my bread and butter's always been on the property side.
Yeah, so we kind of met originally through one of your other businesses, didn't we?
Yeah,
so and that was in my
Clouds
early
Vapor.
days of content production.
I remember that your first time going around the was it the exhibition in
To be
Birmingham,
fair,
I think
mate, it's your fault I fell into the vape industry, bruv.
No, I remember. I told you to come. I remember telling you that this is a new industry that's opening up, and there's currently no one doing media for it. That was my exact words. And then
Quite
I just
literally.
said, look, I said, come, you've got nothing to lose. And then I remember you're walking around, and you're just sort of getting to know people. And then, as it stands now, you're probably one of the most known sort of media companies in the vaping industry as it stands right now.
That was it, man. Like, it was quite crazy, actually, Vape Jam back in that day. Like, completely unexpected, a whole new world. Like, we walked into, what was it, Olympia at the time, wasn't it?
Yep.
And, bro, like, it was something that I'd never seen.
It was a big show. It was a big production. I mean, Birmingham took it to another level. Like that, like.
Well, this is it. Like, when we said to go to Birmingham, I remember saying to you as well, like, you know what, this time I'm going to come as my own entity and see if I can bag a couple of other jobs. And, like, literally, it was just the fact that I turned around to the guy on stage, I think at the time was Austin Hopper, and I was like, you don't really have a camera guy up here. Like, do you mind if I come and jump on this stage? And he was like, yeah, man, feel free. And literally, it was 15-second clips that got me noticed by the event organisers, and it's like I've been with them ever since. Do you know what I mean?
At the time, it was an industry that was doing anything it can to get its name out. But unfortunately, you know, the problem is being vaping and anti-tobacco. There were companies against it, so and the media was sort of against it. So it was sort of you guys were the voice to actually say, well, actually, this is just simply not the case. It was sort of more the truth about what that industry was and how it's helping people.
to think like some of the people that we met over on those first like that first year of the vape industry in the UK at trade
Oh,
show
it's huge.
level,
Yeah, yeah, and you kept in touch.
and
Everyone
to
kept in
see
touch
where
for like
those
3-4 years
people
going
are
forwards.
today is just
Yeah.
crazy, like mad.
Yeah.
But anyway, sorry, I distracted you from the properties.
No, so yeah, and then coming out of uni, built up a bit of money doing uni, doing sort of promotions and stuff. It was soon after the market crash in 2008, so properties were, no one's really buying up property, but if there's one thing we're taught is that properties are always solid, so to speak, so sort of bought
This
a
is
couple
it.
of flats and built up from there really. And then sort of the family businesses and properties anyway, this isn't something which I just suddenly thought of, and if I'm honest, growing up I've always been doing DIY and bits and stuff like that, so it's always been of sort of a general interest. My degree was in business management,
Yeah.
so, and the good thing about properties is it can be really busy, but there are times when it does get quiet, and that's when you start looking at other avenues, other areas to invest, financial markets, this, that, reading, research, and you know, you sort of just, sometimes you just end up in somewhere else. Like properties and vaping are two completely different things, completely
trust me.
unrelated. Before that, uni, I had a chandelier business, completely unrelated once again, but you just find where sometimes opportunities are, you weigh up how much money you need to put in, what you can potentially get out of it, what the risk factor is, and sometimes you just got to make quick decisions and you just run with it.
This is it, man. A lot of people get stuck at weighing up the risk in it, and then don't really put that other step
Oh, you
forward.
could analyze everything, and to be honest, at what point, at some point, you just got to take that step forward. It's like quitting your job and finding something new.
Yep.
It's no different. It is no different.
The thing is, without risk, there's no reward, right?
Hmm?
You got to have some sort of risk to get something out of it. And you know, like you said, you know, people won't kind of move jobs and will weigh up X, Y, and Z for so long before they kind of make that move. But in business, the only difference is you're using your own money most of the time to do this investment. So you just got to weigh up the pros and cons and see if it's worth
Absolutely.
on the other side, you know. But I take it that you being able, self-employed, working for yourself, etc., has given you that time, especially when your daughter was born, to kind of spend that time with her and see a lot more.
So if there's one thing that always sort of was in the back of my mind is people were saying, "Oh, they grow up so quick. They grow up so quick," and
Never has
Ruhi,
there been a truer statement.
Yeah.
and so I think, like especially during COVID and pandemic, I've done what I can to spend as much time with her as I can. But at the same time, when she was born during a time when I had a major development going up in Blackburn. So earlier in the year, I just finished, I think it was 7 flats and 5 shops. So that was cool, that was done. And we were figuring out plans for the building we own next door, which was, if anyone looked at it, you might as well knock it down, it was knackered. And
Yeah.
then I managed to broker a deal with a solicitor firm who was willing to take it on, but they needed it in 6 months. And Ruhi was born in between that 6 months. So I was back and forth from Blackburn, which is about 4.5-5 hour drive. And there were times when I'd leave there at 11, 12 at night, get
Yep.
back 3, 4 in the morning, you know, wake up. But fortunately, Natasha was absolutely fantastic. And the truth is Ruhi at the same time was also a very good kid. Like, let's not get it twisted. If Natasha needed my support, I would have had to figure it out. But, you know, she made it work and we made it work, and sort of we
So
just...
at that point, were you guys at your own place, or were you?
Yeah,
living
yeah, yeah.
with
So yeah,
parents, or?
we were in our own place. So obviously there was no lockdown or pandemic at the time. So Natasha's niece came and stayed. Sometimes helped out with food. Obviously Natasha's parents, if she needed anything, or
Yep.
my parents. But if I'm honest, Natasha, she has a biaba. She had her set up, and we were in our flat, and sort of we knew what we were doing. It was our little home, and sort of it was fine. Like, it wasn't too bad. But if I'm honest, it was probably from the way she was in those early days with looking after Ruhi. I just sort of followed her lead, and for the first year, I'd probably say I played more of a support role,
Mm-hmm.
because this was all new to me. I didn't really I really didn't have the sort of instincts. I mean, I used my nephew as a doorstop once, like, as in I wasn't I didn't have that, like, that I didn't have those sort of instincts on what to do. So I knew where my strengths were, and my
I
strengths
love how
were,
he's just glossing past it after dropping it as well.
I will, I'll say-
We will come back to that story.
All right. So I mean, I'd never held a baby before that. The first child I ever held was my nephew. I wasn't a baby person, so and they're tiny. So like, I would just follow Natasha's lead.
Yeah.
And if she needed something, I just made sure everything around her was as set up as it could be. So she just had to focus on one thing, which was Ruhi. And it
Yep.
sort of just worked. I mean, Natasha knew what my strengths were, I knew what her strengths were. So there's no point me trying to say, oh, why don't we try? Obviously, I had my ideas, and it wasn't like she was like, no, we're doing it my way. But it was sort of like, all right, cool. Like, obviously, what you're doing is working. Ruhi seems to be absolutely cool. She's chilling. We'll just
Yep.
run with that. And if I'm honest, even when it comes to having more kids, I don't think I'll change. Obviously, I'm a bit more experienced now, but I'd absolutely follow her lead for the first year, because you can't. I don't think, no matter what, you can't beat sort of that motherly instinct, so to speak.
Mother's intuition, in it.
Mm.
I think like one thing you've mentioned here as well is like, as a bloke, we're generally awkward with kids before we meet our own.
Yeah.
Like you're not alone on that. Do you know what I mean? Like even I felt like I remember when Kev and I went to see Nickel and Nikki,
Yeah.
and we met Freya for the first
Freya.
time. And mate, like as much as you're trying to like be interactive, you're also subconscious about the fact that you feel like you're like talking like a dickhead or an idiot. Do you know what I mean? Like because it's so new to you and you're not used to talking in that sense or that mannerism, you're a lot more cautious of yourself. Whereas when you spend a bit more time around kids, or you've got your your close niece or nephew or your own kids, that boundary's never really existed because they're your own, right?
Yeah, it's always different when it's your own. I mean, obviously you love your friends' kids and stuff like that, but it's different when it's your own, because they are.
You can't give them back to anyone.
Yeah, there's little things like Ruhi does, which like you can tell she's my kid, like that's my kid. But there are times when like she wasn't sleeping or something. I was like, we need to get the receipt and just drop this baby back. Like, I mean, I think when we left it, I was like, I think there's a picture of us when we stopped. I was like, are you sure we want to take this child home? Like, this is like once we leave this hospital, this Ruhi's coming home with us. I'm like, all right, fine. All right, we took her home. And then we never looked back.
She's so cute though, man. Like, obviously, I follow Natasha as well on like IG and whatnot, and every now and again, I'll see a picture or a story go by. That, mate, she's so cute, your daughter. Man.
Yeah, she's like my little mate. We cycled to Hatchen the other day. Like we go out in town. She loves pizza. Like she likes traveling. She likes it's cool. Like I remember before. Don't get me wrong. When Nat was about to pop, I met a cousin of mine, Prashant, and I remember sitting down with him. And after having that chat with him, I knew like this is going to be alright, because I was sort of freaking out. Like Nat and I used to go on holidays together. Like it was me and her. We had a dog. Like then we got this kid coming on. I don't like kids. I'm not a kid person. But you've got to have kids. Well, no, you don't got to have kids. But I do think every 5 years in your life you've got to make a change. Like if you've been just dating for 5 years, or if you've been in the same job for 5 years and you've not made a change, something's got to change. Otherwise, the next 10, 15 years are going to go and you're not going to know. You've got to change. Because
you're looking for
what
growth
you're doing.
and maturity, innit?
Exactly, and that's only going to happen if you make something impactful. Not saying a kid is the solution, but that is
it's part
of the
natural
journey. Step. But it's a natural step if you want to have kids. If you don't have kids, that's fine, each to their own. But for Natasha and I, we've been married and we had a good 5 years of being married and we loved it. For me, it felt right to... Natasha probably would have been happy to have a kid maybe a little bit earlier, but not crazy earlier, because we travel the world and we absolutely felt like we were at the right time to have Ruhi. And then we thought, right, we'll have a kid, we won't travel, and I guess that didn't work. We just travelled anyway, but like it was fine.
But on that front, right, you obviously, when she was born, you didn't have to have the issue we're in now, which is, okay, you can't travel. So you guys must have got to get away a few times while she was under that 2 age where, you didn't have that extra cost of an extra seat for no reason.
So so that's number one. You got a free seat. That's huge.
Yeah, correct.
But Natasha realised that I had loads of Amex points built up from all these jobs. From basically, I was doing in Blackburn. I mean, everything I was just putting on the credit card because you might as well. Because she's good with figuring out points. She's like, look, you can get this Amex card. You just pay all the bills, and Jewson's, Howdens, all the suppliers I use actually all started accepting Amex. It was fine. And then she does what she does best, which is plan holidays. Even when I go on holiday, it's a surprise for me because there's been times I have left and I don't even, to the point where once we were meant to go to, where I think we were meant to go to Stansted. I was driving, no, where were we going? Heathrow. I'm driving to Luton. She's like, where are you going? We're not going here, we're going there. So
Did you make the flight?
yeah, I've gone. We went to Italy, and she's like, we're going here. I was like, I had to like Google Map where we're going. And she's like, after this we're going here. After this we're going here. After this we're going here. I was like, cool. Like, yeah. And
Nice.
so we basically thought that after we have Ruhi, we won't travel as much. And then within, I think, before she turned 9 months, I think when she was around 10 weeks, 11 weeks, we went to Maldives, which was a phenomenal trip. And looking back, I think was risky in the sense of I wouldn't. I think if someone said, should I do it? I'd say you've got to be comfortable with how your kid is. Like, you've got to know your kid. If your kid is maybe unsettled, or you're still finding your feet as being a parent, or whatever it may be, don't rush it. But we did it, and it was absolutely fine for us. But we were in a good resort. We weren't around a lot of people. We had our own sort of, whatever you call it, villa something, and we were well taken care of. They gave us cots, they gave us bottle, I can't remember what it's called now, what do you call them, the sanitizing bottle things.
Sterilizer things.
Sterilizers, yeah.
Yep.
Everything we needed they had, and they would just make all her food, and fresh food and good food. So in that sense, like, it was all fine. And I think that's the sort of research Natasha had obviously done to say, look, we are coming here with a very young child. What do you have? Will you be able to do this? And they fully catered for it. And I think that gave us the confidence, which is why then over the period of that 1 year, we probably went away, I think, six, seven times. And it was fine. And Ruhi loved it.
So what was she like on the flight, though? Especially like at that young an age? It must have been daunting for you guys as well, right?
So it was daunting to me, but Natasha's like, don't worry.
I got this.
I booked the night flight, or we've booked it at this time, and her nap time is like this. So she had it all figured out, if I'm honest. So once again, through the airport, I just play the support role. I'll just make sure everything's got everyone we need. I'll just keep making sure, like, if Nat takes a passport out, I'll put it back. And she just basically looks after Ruhi, and it was fine. And then the one that scared me the most was Mauritius, which was 11 hours. And that's the one that freaked me out the most. But as soon as the lights went off, I mean, I'm not saying it was easy going. She was Ruhi was really uncomfortable because she's obviously on top of us. But all said and done, she slept. And then we got to Gatwick. So we had to then drive from Gatwick home. But I think she was so sort of knackered from the broken sleep, she slept the whole way home. So I couldn't complain.
So I guess the question that I have for this, a bit more specific, is like, when you're taking off and you're landing, like, generally your ears might pop and things like that. And they say for children it's amplified a little bit worse and whatnot. Obviously they're not expecting or used to it. Did she have any like repercussion from that?
No, so I think there's two arguments to be made. One, I'm not going to say it's our parents, and when we were growing up as kids, we noticed it a lot. It's probably fair to say planes are a lot more modern than they were when we were growing up 10, 15 years ago. And actually, the pressure issues, even we don't have anymore. Or at least I don't feel I've had it. I don't know
that might be due to the amount of flights you take.
And so Natasha basically, we had a dummy. Natasha was breastfeeding during the early flights. But obviously, and then she was just stuff to chew on, so not sweets, but I think she just had a couple of things like snacks and stuff like that. And it was fine. Like, we never had a pressure issue, because that was obviously an initial thing, but I think I think
that's what scares me, man. Like, going away with him if I was to be able to go away with him at this age, is how we'd react on takeoff and landing.
Well, when did you last have a pressure issue in your ears?
Me? Well,
because I can't remember.
Last time I flew.
That's the thing. Now it's become second nature. I don't recall when I would have even... It gets a bit blocked while it's going up or down, but by the time I'm off the flight or I'm up in the air normally, it's gone and it's back to normal.
Yeah, when you're young, it's a completely different story.
But it's for me, that's been quite difficult, because I really wanted to go away at least, a few trips by now. Like, by 10 months in, I would have at least done 2 or 3 trips, whether it's literally just into Europe, couple-hour flight, or going to Dubai to all-inclusive resort or something like that. Just something where you can get away for a week, and just get them used to, one, getting on flights, 2, different weather conditions. All these things.
A bit of sun, innit?
Well, they haven't had that full. Well, he had heat when he was born, but then obviously at that point he's like, look, it's too hot for me. He had the air conditioning in the house, so he's like, alright, cool, I don't really feel it, I'm really bothered by it. But he has not been on like come on, I wanted to get him on a flight quite easy early on.
Yeah, but I
And just
wouldn't
get
worry
them
too
into
much. I wouldn't dwell on it, because at the same time, I can't. There's no guarantee saying Ruhi is a good traveller now. She's
Yeah.
walking and running around. When we were taking her, let's not forget, she started walking at like 13 months. So
Really?
for all those flights we were doing, she wasn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
So it was
Yeah.
easy. But now, I mean, now I'd probably be more nervous about taking her than I did 6 months ago. 6 months ago, you know, she's just going to sit in your lap. I mean, now I guess, like with YouTube and phones and this and that, you can just probably shove an iPod and she'll probably keep busy for a while. But at the end of the day,
For
she's...
how long is the
Lil,
question?
this is it. It's only going to last a little while.
Yeah.
If you got an 8-hour flight, you've got to do something to keep them entertained, right? For those 8 hours, that's the thing. Like
Yeah.
right now, like I would have loved to do it, say when he was 3-4 months, because that's probably the only time he was really still and he wouldn't be curious of going.
Mhm.
From about 5-6 months onwards, he's been like, I want to get on the floor, I want to crawl around, I want to look around, I want to know what's going on. Now it's like, do not hold me, let me free, let me go do what I got to do, right?
Yeah.
So now if I'm on a flight and I put him in my arms and we're just holding him there, as soon as he can, he's out of it and he's gone. And if I'm holding him for too long, then he'll start like screaming the whole plane down, and I'm like, okay, we can't do that today, so let's see what happens next. So listen, when it's open and we're allowed to do it, it'll be I'm so intrigued to see what the first flight will be. I'm so excited by it, honestly.
But you guys both have boys as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is a question that I wanted to ask you. Like, when you found out how did you find out you were having a girl? Did you find out early in the scans, or did you find out at the birth, or?
So we decided together that we won't find out, which I was happy with anyway.
Yeah.
And we said that when we have baby number 2, then we'll find out for that one. But I think, for me personally, it is one of the most natural, best surprises one can give themselves in life. Like, you can buy each other gifts and this and that, but this is completely natural. Do you see what I mean? So
Yeah.
everyone, because of the way, I guess, her bump was quite high or something, or low or something, they go, oh, it's going to be a boy. I wanted a girl. I insisted. And I think the only other person that said it was going to be a girl was probably, I think, my sister. Everyone else was like, oh, it's going to be a boy, you're going to have a boy and stuff. I was like, no, it's a girl, it's a girl. And it was, when she came, when obviously she was born, it was like the best feeling ever, like knowing that I've got the girl I wanted. But I think part of that is I'm not an overly emotional person, so I think having a girl for me would break down some of those barriers where, like, it's a girl, like, it's your daughter, like, it's different. And I think that's why, like, I've actually invested. If it was a boy, I'd probably be like, when it comes to discipline, I'd be like go sit, like, go in the cupboard or something. Like, I don't think I'll be as
Put him at the door again.
Like the doorstop, yeah.
But with Ruhi, it's like completely different. But she's so endearing, and I think she's just like my mate. I don't treat her like a girl though. I treat her as rough and ready as I would maybe a boy. Like, I don't think I do anything different. But I think that's just, now she's just sort of built with that as well.
And did, like, when Rui was born, like, before she was born, were you quite religious or actively practicing our religion and faith, or was it like, I'll do it when Mum asks me to do this, that, and the other? And how did you feel about now having to teach Rui about those traditions and beliefs in our culture?
So, I would say, from what I've learned from my parents, that I do have a relatively strong understanding of Hinduism.
Mm-hmm.
I do also feel that one should do what they're comfortable with doing. Just because I eat meat doesn't necessarily mean God sees me as a bad person.
Mm-hmm.
But that's for me to justify to myself, not to anyone else. If I feel comfortable eating meat and still, being a religious person, then fine. Before Rui came across, I would say I'm not someone that regularly goes to temple. I'm not someone that regularly prays. But I accept that we have a religion, that religion exists, and that we've got gods we worship, and I would never take that away from Ruhi.
Mm-hmm.
And if Ruhi wanted to be more inquisitive about it, I would absolutely support. I don't think there's anything I would stop her from doing, because as she gets older, she can make her own decision.
Yep.
Natasha's the same. Natasha sings bhajans and this and that with her all the time, and so does my my parents and Natasha's parents, and they're the ones who naturally instill that in her, more so than
It's the same for
Natasha and
me.
I do. But every night before before Ruhi goes to sleep, Natasha, I will take her into the mandir. She'll do a couple of prayers, and she sits with my mum sometimes. She'll do her prayers and stuff, and like she sits there and she understands that this is what it is, and she
Yeah.
enjoys it. And that's the thing, you've got to make it enjoyable. It doesn't necessarily have to be, but it's good discipline for them in terms of like, right, this is my time to stay still and
Mhm.
concentrate, or close my eyes, or go on, and this and that. Like, it's good discipline, I think, at the same time.
Yeah, it's memories for them as well. Do you know what I mean? Like as
Mm.
they grow older, they'll start to remember these things, and you know,
Absolutely.
the actions that they took as young children. Right. Buv, I was going to ask a question and it slipped my mind, so I'm going to ask you to fill in for a minute.
Yeah, let me just throw it to him on the spot. I had a question, but now I've lost it. Jesus.
So here's one: do your kids eat meat? What
That
do you
was
guys
my
eat meat?
that was actually my question. That was the
Go
train
on.
of thought. So obviously Jaden, no, he's still on the milk. We've just started with the food, but the fact is, like, Reshma's a vegetarian. I eat meat. Like, my family eats meat. Her family is mainly vegetarian. So we've always had this discussion of like Jaden is going to be brought up as a vegetarian.
Mhm.
It's a bit of a hit and miss kind of conversation, because as much as I agree that he can be a vegetarian, I'm also of the mind that I don't want to be the person that tells him that he can't eat what I eat.
Mhm.
Do you know what I mean? Like, we're going to come back with KFC one night and he's going to see me eating like chicken, whatever it might be. And he's going to be like, I want that. And I'm going to be like, I'm sorry, bro, you can't have that because your mum said no.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So again, the same question to you, like, do you guys raise Rui as a vegetarian?
So Natasha and I both eat meat, but Natasha eats a lot less meat. Like, I'll go to the zoo and I'll get hungry. Like, that's the level of meat I eat versus the level of meat Natasha eats. When it came to Ruhi, and this is where I guess between husband and wife, you just sort of figure out where you want to lie with it. And Natasha would rather Ruhi makes her own decision.
Mm-hmm.
Now, so at the moment she's vegetarian. She eats egg. I wouldn't mind Ruhi actually starting to eat fish.
Yep.
But Ruhi also loves watching fish. So then it sort of feels a bit like messed up that,
Yeah.
she loves watching fish because her
She's eating
parent,
Nemo.
Natasha's parents have a aquarium, so she'll see it and she loves the fish and stuff. So I was like, all right, fine, we'll hold back on the fish. And when it comes to the meat, I love cooking. And
Yeah.
Natasha loves cooking. But I cook like chicken wings and this and that, like all sorts, like chicken and waffles and maple syrup and hot sauce, like these sort of, and I've always wanted to create.
I think we got to
these-
go to his for dinner after
I was
that.
about to say, man, it sounds like a good shot. Like, you might as well just get it ready, man.
So I've always said when I cook these things, I would love to cook it. Just
You
see
seen
Kev's comment.
Kev's note?
I want to create these dishes for her. I want her to like, and I guess it's when we're growing up and like your parents will cook certain dishes and you get really excited about it.
Yep.
But Natasha's like, look, when she is old enough to understand, we'll give. And you know what? That's fine. That I respect that. Like, it's like at some point. See, I wasn't. Since I met Natasha, I would say the man I eat has gone tenfold. Before, I was quite closed with what I eat. Like, I would literally get a chicken sandwich from McDonald's and it would be bread, chicken bread, no mayo, no lettuce. That's how bland, sort of. That's just the way I was. So, in fact, I have no pressure on forcing food down her now because it's all going to come. And she's got a great appetite. And to be honest, a vegetarian diet is absolutely healthy. So I haven't got any sort of issues from that side of things. And I think as she gets older, she understands, where this food comes from and stuff. I think if she was like, I would like to try it, then, if I'm honest, I think Natasha and I would let her. I think it would be more of a barrier for Natasha.
Yeah.
I'd be more excited about it, but I think Natasha would be like, okay, this could mean my child now eats meat going forwards.
So,
but
have you ever come across that opportunity or instance where you've been eating a meat dish and she's like, "What's that?"
I think she ate. Was it the dog food she ate? I think she ate a pellet of. It was. I think it was. I don't know.
I start preparing us for this stuff, man, because we're just not expecting.
I think she ate a lamb pellet or something once, but we're not sure. But I don't think she's ever. she's never been like, when we're eating, she's never like, I want that. She's always quite content with what she's got anyway.
Yeah.
So we've never like said, no, you need to eat this or you need to eat that. But we've never really sort of offered meat to her. But I've eaten meat in front of her or anything like that. It's not like we hide it from her. But, you know, I don't think, if she was like, I want to try it, I don't think we'd give it to her because I think she's still a bit young to really understand where that's from.
Yeah.
I think Natasha would rather she's got a really clear understanding that this is an animal which, you know, you sing about in nursery and this and that. Like,
This is Peppa Pig that you watch on TV in your bacon sandwich, basically.
yeah. There's no haram over here. Like, so, yeah, like, I think when the time comes, she can eat, she'll eat. And to be honest, I'll look forward to it because then I'll start whipping up all what I want to cook for her. And
That is
yeah.
going to be a difficult conversation, though, isn't it? Where does bacon come from? Well, you know, Peppa Pig.
That you watch on TV. Yeah, that's...
yeah, it's true.
But the thing is, like, you know, we had a very similar... We've got a very similar approach at the moment, and we've said, you know, like, we both eat meat, but we've both said kind of, you know, when he understands it a bit more, that's when we'll kind of maybe introduce it to him. Because I don't want to give it to him now and be like, oh, you just gave it to him for the sake... Because at the moment, he doesn't know what he's eating. He doesn't know what it is. He doesn't know what it... You know, and it's not like he needs it in his life.
No, but it comes down to what you guys are comfortable with. You guys might feel like, look, we eat meat, and we eat a lot of meat, and why shouldn't he eat meat? Because he's going to at some point want to eat meat. Or you can say, let him decide, but there's no right or wrong.
Yeah, that's the thing. But for us, it was
child.
more like, for us, it was more actually, look, if we can keep him away from it for a bit longer, actually, it's probably the best approach. You know, as
Oh no, I agree.
I
I
think
do agree.
you know, they get all their nutrients, whatever they need from vegetarian food. Right, there isn't anything that they really need from meat. He eats eggs. Or if you have a little try at it, sometimes he eats it. Sometimes he's like, I don't like this, it's a bit dry for me today. Leave it for another day. But generally, he's quite fine with eggs or any type of vegetarian food. So chicken, and the most meat we eat is probably chicken anyway. Out of everything, there's not much else there that we. You know, if we're out and about, then maybe lamb and anything else that goes along, but mainly chicken. And the only thing I really want to introduce him to at one point is probably going to be Nando's, right?
I knew that would come in.
Yeah, of course, but how was it going to be, right? You've got to introduce him the right way. But yeah, like I just think at the moment it will be more about when he understands a lot more as to what he's actually eating.
But there's also a big question around dairy as well, then, yeah. Because
so if I'm honest with you, he has not had any, even in cereal and stuff, he's not had any milk, normal like cow's milk. It's just been oat milk and almond milk.
So so we've got a couple of friends who are vegan, and
Yeah.
they obviously don't give their kids. And it's actually quite interesting because I don't actually drink milk anymore. I have oats milk as well.
Yeah,
It's not something that I make Ruhi have, but in terms of like getting into that habit, which we were in growing up of having milk before bed, she doesn't have that.
I don't think you need that either. Like,
No, you don't. But I think it's
I don't
something because we went through it. You think that's the right
It
way,
is
which
the-
is
yeah.
And there's no right or wrong.
Have
but
you tried to keep away from the cheese, or do you find that's the hardest thing?
I don't think she eats a lot of cheese. I
No,
don't
for
think-
you.
Me.
For you.
I'm not.
yeah,
I'm not a
yeah.
cheese person. I'm not a cheese
See,
person.
that's the one thing I'm struggling with. Like out of all the dairy thing, you can milk, no problem, whatever, any of that stuff. No, I don't need any of that.
What about
Cheese is
pizza
the one.
then?
That's what gets me though, isn't it? Cheese. I can't not stop cheese. I've tried everything under the sun. I can't stop it. That's the one thing that gets me from this dairy life, isn't it? Is that
What
cheese.
about you though, Shiv? Because I know you like a pizza from Spack.
Yeah, I eat a lot of pizza. Yeah. So I get less cheese. I get extra sauce, extra
Yeah.
crispy, less cheese.
Got
And like that's my just way around it. But yeah, I'm not going to quit cheese. I just don't eat. I just won't sit down and like eat brie.
Have a block of like cheddar while you're just
that's not
watching
mine.
TV or something. Yeah,
No, that's not
but
mine.
people, yeah, that's the thing, right? Is
I think it's becoming more common for people to move away from dairy products anyway. Do you know what I mean?
The
Like, I think
alternatives are
pizza is
yeah.
the thing that draws people in and keeps them into cheese. But apart from that, like, I don't have milk. When I have coffee, I use creamer in it. Like, I don't really have cereal ever. So, you know, I've never had milk. at that point.
I've gone onto this thing now of cereal with like oat milk in it. And initially I was like,
Get used to it.
yeah, initially I was like, what is this? And now I'm like, this is fine. And oat milk, before I used to have a lot of almond milk, and I've cut from that onto the oat, because actually it's a bit thicker and actually it tastes a lot better as well.
Reshma's done the same.
Yeah,
One
mixing
week
it
she
with
did almond
cereal.
milk.
Yeah, cereal and like almond milk, apart from crunchy nut, doesn't work. But oat milk works fine with Weetabix and everything, so this all makes so much more sense.
So here's a question. Your kids are obviously younger. Mine's too. How have you guys found in terms of looking after yourself? Have you guys been getting on?
That's a good question.
As in when the child's with us, or just looking after ourselves?
Just
as
generally, yeah,
fathers?
generally looking because one of the fears I had was obviously people just sort of saying, oh, once you have I used to train quite a lot, so I trained 4 or 5 days a week.
Yep.
So I remember how many people used to be like, and it's probably why I did the opposite, because so many people are like, oh, forget it, once you have a kid, it's all gonna, and that's what I used to hear a lot, which is why I got a bit freaked out when this kid was like, when Nat was pregnant and it was getting close to that time. People are like, oh, it's all over. It's like, but I guess it's the same sort of, in the same when people like you get married and like, oh, your life is over. It's not. It's actually like,
It's just
to be honest, it's the best thing. But
Yeah,
it's just that sort of, I guess it's banterous to say someone when having a kid, oh, that's it. So many people are like, oh, once you've had a kid, that's it. So I felt I had to go out my way to not prove anyone wrong, but to prove myself that actually just because I'm having a
doesn't need to be
child
that way,
or I've
innit?
got a child, I don't have to change. I went to the gym the day after we came back. The day after, she was sleeping for 3 hours, I went to the gym. And I was like,
Yeah.
nothing needs to change. And that's when I realised nothing needs to change.
Yeah. Unfortunately for us, it's been a situation where me time is in the same household. Can't go anywhere. And that's been the biggest kind of, even us, like for me and Britt both, like we've not had that time to. We can't go anywhere. We can't, like, we live with our parents, so it can't even be like, let's leave him here for a few hours. The only thing we've done is gone to like Tesco or something because we need to do some shopping at night, right?
Quite
But
literally.
there's nowhere for us to go. There's nowhere for us to actually do X, Y, and Z, which is like we're in the four walls. I'm working. I wake up, come to my desk, start working. There's no going to the gym. There's no. Yeah, we might go for a walk or something, but we'll take him with us. But there's nothing else that we can.
Like, I guess
do.
the flip side of Shiv's question here is, were you scared of the thought of having to look after your son on your own?
Nah. Initially, probably, yeah. Initially, I would have been like, whoa, like, what are you doing? You can't leave him with me. He's not going to stay with me for more than 5 minutes. Now I'm like, yeah, that's cool, man. Just leave him here and we'll just like watch something or we'll do something. I'll entertain him for a bit. But I think for me, it was like, will things change? Will we be in that position where actually you won't get to do the things you were doing before? And I'll be honest, the main thing is like, will the holidays stop or continue? Unfortunately, on that front of it, like they've stopped it for us, right? They've just done it for us. I don't have that choice. But the rest of the things, I think once things start opening up, actually, I want to get back into that routine of life and that normal thing. And if there's any things I can do with him, whether it's going for bike rides or doing X, Y, and Z, and doing that with him, that's great. I'll do that. But at the same time, if there's things that I can do on my own and actually go and do X, then yeah, I'll still be wanting to do that because I think it's good for everyone's mental health more than anything else. No one should feel that, okay, you've had a kid that of course your duties are to that child and you want to be there all the time, but both of you do not need to be there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can both have that little time out to actually go and do what you need to do.
Yeah,
No,
I mean,
it's true.
one of the things you can also do if you're finding it hard is sometimes, I know it sounds a bit ludicrous, but if you just wake up before everyone else.
I've tried telling him this, bruv. He won't listen.
There's been times like 4:30 in the morning, everyone's asleep. I know it's crazy.
Oh,
but
you
it's
lot are
really-
crazy, both of you, right? I've come to this conclusion, right? You're both crazy.
Do you know what time I've been up since this morning, bruv?
Go on.
Literally 4:25.
Oh my god. And no nap in between.
No nap today, bro.
You just go
I've
to
been on
sleep
solid.
earlier.
You
I'm usually up at 5, well, at the moment because gyms are closed, I'm waking up at 5:45, 6. Before, when gyms are open, I was waking up at 5:45, 5, and I was training from 6 to 7. Come back, shower, so I'm basically ready before Ruhi wakes up, and then Natasha will sort of take care of Ruhi in the morning, and then I'll just get her breakfast ready, and then like one of us will drop her to nursery or something. But that was my time which I needed to myself, like you were saying, to sort of just get your head in gear. And sometimes, yeah, you sleep less, but you get used to it, and to be honest, you can survive on less sleep anyway, and you just catch up over the weekend anyway if you need to. You get used to it.
But I was
It's
like,
alright.
nah, hey,
I'm not even getting. I'm not getting into this conversation with you two, man. You two have this conversation amongst yourselves. You got this in common. You carry on, man. I'm out of it. Now, I'll be honest.
You know what
like,
it is? If
go
you were
on.
feeding and Kaylin was on the bottle at that time in the morning, then
Oh,
Priya would tell you that, bro.
Oh, that's different. Yeah.
It's
No,
your
no, that's a
time,
it's
it's
a
your
different,
turn.
yeah. No,
Yeah, that's a
then,
different
but then I
scenario.
would have done it as well, right? Because it's
Yeah.
actually like, why not? I get that time with him, etc., etc. Whereas now he wakes me up in the morning. Like this morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, he's tapping me and trying to tickle me and all sorts and saying like, "Can you get up now, please? Because like we ain't here for no sleep. You need to get up and play." And then we're both downstairs giving him breakfast, having a little, play with him for a couple of hours before he goes back to. And then, you're ready to carry on working. I don't mind that. But I would be happy if that was from like maybe even 10, 11, maybe 12 until 6. I got my full, at least a nice stint of sleep.
Bruv, I'll tell you one thing, yeah. If you wake up to him and the first thing he does is open his eyes, grab your hand and smile, yeah, like that's you set for the day, bruv.
But that's
How
what
many
I'm
kids-
saying.
Sorry,
like-
what movies have you? How many kids do that? Sorry. I
Hey?
don't think Ruhi just wakes up and holds my hand and smiles.
No, serious. Bruv, I'll go up to him in the morning and generally by that point he's already been fussing, so we've made the bottle and I'm just going to pick him up to feed, right? So he's awake, so I'll literally put my hand on his face like that and he'll grab it, pull it tighter and then start smiling at me. Standard date, like it's a procedure that happens on a daily, do you know what I mean?
That's a nice moment, though.
But this is it.
Is
And
he,
this
is
what
he
I'm
in his
saying,
own? Is
like-
he in his own? Is he in his own room?
No, and you know what? Actually, this is something I forgot to mention completely. But last night, where he turned 5 months, Reshma got a bit ballsy, and she was like, "Well, we put his cot together last month. He's been there during the day, like most days. Let's see if he'll stay there overnight." And there was me sitting there thinking, "Can we bring him back in yet? Like,
Oh,
are you sure
really?
you want to leave him?" Yeah, man. Like, I was the one with separation anxiety.
Wow.
And
I was the
but
opposite.
no,
I was
no.
like, nah, "Are we ready? Are we ready? Are we ready?"
is it happening? Like when we do it?
But I
Yeah,
think-
but we
I
always said
think-
6 months, and obviously 5 months.
So
I was
Natasha
like,
made the call. She was like, it came to a point where I think when we were getting into bed, we were disturbing her more. So,
That's the problem.
and that's when she was like, "Look, let's give it a go." And you have to, once you do that, I think, and this is where you've got to be on the same page because the thing is if she wakes up and then I pick her up and I bring Ruhi back into our bed, then that habit will form with Ruhi that actually, but because
Yeah,
Nat and I were
if
both
I
on the
cry,
same
it made them
page,
go.
we would very rarely ever bring her back to our bed, and as a result, fortunately, touch wood, she's kept in her
Yeah.
own room. And the best thing is, if I'm honest, one of the advice I can give you is if she's worried about waking up, just switch the monitor off. It's fine. They're not going to go anywhere. They're in a cot. They've got 4 walls. They're pretty much in jail anyway.
This is it.
Just switch the monitor
No,
off. You
like,
can't
to
even
be
hear
fair,
them. They're
He
asleep.
was fine. Like, honestly, he was fine. He slept all the way through to his like late night feed, and then he slept all the way through to his early morning feed. He didn't like literally. Reshma woke him up for his early morning feed after I made the bottle and got ready. So, like, success, man.
So now
But what was it
you've
like
got
for
your
you
room
when
back.
you first put the like Rui in her own room and bath with Kaden? You've just started that, right?
Well, no, we were waiting for our builder to come and do the wallpaper. So I literally has messaged me now. So I'm hoping that gets done this weekend. So by next week, he will be in his own room, out, sleeping there. And we haven't done anything during the day. Like he's not been in his own room during the day. We're just gonna, go with it and just put him in his own room in the evening.
Do you think? I think you should like start
Um,
putting him in that room to get him
We
accustomed to
can't
that
because I can't move the
Or
cot
is it
and
still-
then move it back up. That's the.
area. Ah, right.
It's 2 different floors,
Got you.
right? So I
Yeah.
can't really be shifting that around all the time. I might, But listen, at the end of the day, if he wakes up, I'll just have to. One of us will have to run down and get him.
Run.
Yeah, but to be fair, like I feel that he wakes up more in the night because he hears us come back into the room and he hears the door and he hears shuffling, and I think actually I also think he smells us come back in.
They
And
know.
he's got that,
Yeah.
and he's got that like sixth sense. Oh, they've come back now. Let me get up because they will entertain me. They will, change my nappy. Even if he doesn't need changing, they'll change my nappy. They'll feed me. They'll play with me. They'll put me back to sleep. And he's getting into that. And I'd rather him just actually go into your room, wake up in the morning, early morning. Then we'll bring you, get you ready, and then we can spend more time with you. I don't mind getting up at stupid o'clock in the morning, because these are the only times where they can wake up all they want or whatever. It's for a year or 18 months, however long it goes on to. After that, they're going to go into a routine on their own. They're going to get to that age where actually, you're going to miss those times and be like, I should have just done that when I had the chance, or you should have done X, Y, and Z. So as much as we complain, I'd love for him to sleep through or do X, it's a baby at the end of the day. Let them do what they need to do.
I'm the opposite. No, you don't. It's to sleep. You don't wake up. If she wakes up, like right now, Hannah's going to sound a bit thingy. She goes to sleep at 7, but she's waking up about 7:15. That's an inconvenient time for me. The other day she woke up at 7:40. That's a good time. That works. But her waking up at 7:15, 7:20, that's an inconvenient time. Like, she should not be waking up around that time. So that's sort of where the spectrum I'm at. Like, even if she wakes up 15 minutes early, that's not cool.
Oh, but then you got to change your routine, right? 15 minutes before.
Yeah,
You're up at 4 o'clock anyway, right? You might as well just make it 3:45 and do what you need to do. But look, as life goes on, you adjust to your kids. That is.
But that's what it's about, though, isn't it?
Happens,
That's what I'm talking about. That's natural progression in your life. Your life should always have a change after 5 years.
100.
Like, it could be anything. It could be where you live. It could be maybe your job, what you're learning. Like, you've been doing it subconsciously all your life. You go to nursery, 5 years. You go to primary school, 5 years. You go to secondary school, 5 years. You go to college, uni. Like, if you look at this, all increments are pretty much 5 years.
5. Mm.
So you don't follow it, but if you've been doing the same thing for 10 years, then the chances are you're just going to be in that and that's, what, if that's you and that's cool, that's fine. You don't have to, but it depends on how you are as a person. If you want to just make sure then sometimes having a kid or having a dog or having a pet or cat, whatever it may be, that's your next progression.
But it's like you need that shock to the system. It's like when you're dieting and trying to do X, Y, and Z. You need that shock to the system for it to be working at all times, and you need that shock in your life. And it's a good shock. It's not a bad thing. It's a good shock that you're getting. You're changing something in a positive way to say, actually.
Absolutely, but that's what it's about, isn't it?
Yeah, and then you actually then kind of progress as a person. It doesn't even have to be for financial gain or extra. You just, as a person, you change and you learn new things, and you
grow,
just
mature.
You just be accustomed to better things in life by just making those small changes.
My mentality and my manner in which I work has even adapted from having a kid when it comes to dealing with tenants. One of my properties is a HMO, and they had a kid in there. I did what I can to sort of make it comfortable for them, and a few things like you naturally just, because you've got a better understanding of what people are going through and what it's like, because you've gone through it. Okay, she's 2, so there's obviously people way ahead of me, but there's also people who've just had maybe a newborn. So I get it to some extent. So I would definitely say that I've definitely had a better understanding of what other people. I mean, I see people with like 2 kids, and I'm thinking, or 3 kids, and I'm thinking that's mad. Like right now,
the thing is, you become more compassionate as well, don't you?
Yeah, you do. I think you naturally do, but that's that natural progression, isn't it? You can't be a bellend for the rest of your life. You've got to change at some point. And like for me, having Ruhi has sort of adapted that, and it's made me a better. I'd say it's definitely made me a better person. It's made me a better husband.
No, for sure, man.
But my key thing was Natasha always came first. Like, I had my wife first, then I had a kid. And I think Natasha was the same. It was sort of the same. I'm not saying we left Ruhi on the side, but we always made sure we prioritized each other. So it wasn't like all about Ruhi. It was about me doing things for her doing things for me, taking the time out to maybe get someone like Natasha's niece used to come around, look after Ruhi, Nat and I would like go out, like, and I think that's so important, because just because you've had a kid, never forget your husband or wife. Like you're the reason that kid's here.
You still have to work on your relationship, innit?
I think that's. I mean, everyone has their own little ways of making it work. But for me personally,
it's actually a good note, that, because a lot of people, they make time for the child, but they
Just
won't
become
make
kid
time
obsessed.
for
Yeah.
like they don't make time for each other. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
then communication breaks down, start resenting each other and things like that. And before you know it, you're just avoiding talking to each other and walking around like with the kids.
If Natasha and I have absolute appreciation for each other, that's all Ruhi's going to see.
Yeah,
She's not going to
And
become a
kids,
bad kid.
kids pick
they'll
that
pick up on it. Yeah,
Yeah, that's all it is. You know, kids always pick up. Like, you know, the main thing is that even if you're not even if you're having a debate, like even if you're not arguing, we just have a debate about something, but you're not kind of in your normal tone of voice. You might be a bit louder or something. Caden is looking at us like, what are you guys doing? Like, you guys alright over here? Like, what are you guys talking about? Because they pick up on these things and they want to like be like, oh, why is he talking like this? Or what is he doing? Or even if I'm on the phone and he hears me on the phone to someone, he just looks around like, what are you doing? Like, who's this?
Very
Who you
observant. Very
and
observant.
I'm like, don't worry, man. It's all good. Like, carry on. Like, but they pick up on these things so quickly. Like, I've got to watch what I kind of say around him sometimes because I'm like, he's gonna definitely pick up on it, man. I'm just like, just gotta be so careful.
Yeah, but you can have a laugh with it. Like Ruhi loves grime music. Like if I put on,
That's what I like to hear.
Yeah. It's like if I put, it's like she's proper end of the spectrum. Like I take a like one thing Natasha once wanted her to do ballet, and my sister did ballet, so I was like, yeah, it's great. I take a ballet, I fucking love it. I think it's great. But that's the thing, like you put on like certain music and like you put on like CeeLo, Central C, and she's like, she's like, you know that what's it? Well, if you put on Who's in the House, she'll be like Hose. But like that's what she does. Like Ruhi, who's in the house, she'll be like Hose.
mate. That's
But you
mad,
just have a
innit?
laugh with it. Like she's not going to grow up.
that's it.
Like, do you know what I mean? You just have a laugh with it, and she's a reflection of how we are. And if that's sort of the humour I have and the humour Natasha has, then that's the humour she's going to have. But
Yeah.
it's the way you go about it.
Yeah, man. I was gonna ask you, what was it? What was her first words?
So I think, if I'm not mistaken, when Ruhi was born, Natasha would just call me Dad. So I would call Natasha, and she would call me Dad. And because Dad was obviously the word Ruhi was hearing the most, so Ruhi, Natasha would call me Dad, and she would always refer to me to Ruhi as Dad. I think Dad was sort of her first word, and then in the past sort of 4 months, I've been able to move that on to Papa. So now she calls me Papa.
Yeah.
And she's quite smart because she knows that if she needs something, she'll be like, Papa, please. So she started that sort of progression's there.
She
But now-
started wrapping you around her finger, mate.
No, it doesn't work because I'll be like, no, like, are you nuts? Like, you're not gonna have raisins at 7 in the morning. Like, just go over there and sit down. Like, it's not gonna happen. But like, she tries. You can see that sort of she's learning. So I think Dad was her originally first word, and then obviously Mum and all the natural words that follow. But I tell you what, it's funny how much you forget. Like the moment you guys are in now, I would need to look at pictures to go back to that moment because the progression is so crazy that
It's so
you
rapid,
live,
isn't it?
you live in the now. Like I
Yeah.
know, if you ask me, I can tell you everything she's done in the last 3 months. When you mention waking up at night and sort of sleep, like it's like, oh yeah, shit, that used to happen. Like I forgot about that. Because it just like right now you're like, oh, I just want this, and that gets sorted. Something else will come up.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, right? Those things, all these things get sorted. So it's like, yes, we talk about them, and yes, we have a little bit of a laugh about them, but you might as well cherish these things now, make memories of them, because
gotta
they're
have a
not
laugh at
lasting. They're not lasting forever. Because if you don't, embrace it all now, you're gonna look back and be like, I should have just embraced it when I had the chance, right? And that's the only thing I look back and say. Actually, it's been 9.5 months already. Hard to recall them all because it's moved really quickly, but just enjoy it while you can.
Yeah, during the pandemic, obviously everyone's working from home, nurseries were closed, so Natasha and I literally would just do sort of alternate mornings, and I would take her to the park because it was summer, and me and her would sit in the park every other day at like 8 o'clock, and would go through her picture books, and that was just our thing. That just became her routine. Like, because for me, I'm personally routine driven. I can't do like pull me out of a routine and it's just anarchy. It just doesn't work for me. Like for me, I wake up, like I've got my way of doing things, but that's what keeps me cool. Like that works for me, and so I sort of instilled that on Ruhi. And Natasha is a lot more creative. So, but I'm not. I'm more methodic. So she gets best of both worlds. So for me, like, I'll take her to the park, and she knows, like, this is the time we're going to go. This is what's going to happen. We'll do our books. We'll sit down and stuff like that. So that, you know, during those times, these are moments where, you know, I will remember, because, and these, like, obviously pandemic, hopefully is going to be a one-off. Like, we're not going to go through this again. But I think I use this time to make the most. So when people say, yeah, they grow so quick, at least I feel I haven't missed it.
Now the thing is, our dads would have never got this opportunity to spend this much time with us when we were their age. Do you know what I mean?
But I don't think it was normal to.
It's not, and even like
they were built different.
Yeah, but like, don't take it out of
was
context.
different.
Even a year ago, blokes weren't getting this opportunity, right? Like, we've been so fortunate, the fact, like, for Bob and I, that the whole time that our kids have been alive, we've been able to spend that time with them or be around to see those first things. Whereas the majority of men that we know have not had that privilege. But, like, even I was saying to Bob the other day, like, I don't think that I would want to experience the kids' first 6 months to a year any other way.
Yeah, 100%. And the thing is, like, as and when there's a second one, or whatever, if there is, or whenever there might be for either of us, you know, who knows?
It's going to be a completely different animal.
Well, who knows about what the position is going to be? Because I don't think I'm going to get to sit at home for another year and work from home, and I don't think that's going to be an option, right? Whereas, you know, if it is an option, fine, I'll take it. But that likelihood is that's not going to be an option, so it's going to be a whole different experience.
Yeah, but you just figure it out. You just take it as it comes and you figure it out. Likewise, if a year ago I was like, look, next year you're going to have to be at home and spend all your time with the little one, I think you'll probably be like, I'm not really sure about that.
Well, that's the point, right?
You just figure it out.
Yeah.
Well, that kind of leads me on to another question for you, Shiv. So, obviously, Ruhi was born at a time where she would have been able to go into, like, nursery, or she would have had some exposure to other children or, like, family members as well. So, what age did you put her into, like, nursery, for example?
So I think we based it around a holiday. In fact, I think we came back from holiday, and then Natasha's like, we'll start warming her in. So I think she went in quite early. So she started settling in around 10 months, like a couple of sessions a week, an hour or two, and then she went in full time around a year, which I think for us was a good time, because I don't think she had separation anxiety. I think she went to nursery and she loved it straight away. So we never had an issue. But I think you know your child as well. I think we felt she was ready, just based on like her wanting to do other things. From my experience, I do feel that if you wait too long, then they get too familiar with their surroundings, and then it's harder to break that because they're now into a new environment. They're obviously more aware. But once again, it just depends on, you've got to be comfortable as well, because as men, it's very easy for us to say, can send them to nursery, it's done. But for the mums, there's a huge separation anxiety. Let's not forget, you know, they've been the ones that have nurtured this child for so long. So you have to also respect that boundary and take it at their pace sometimes. And, you know, if Natasha wanted to drop her later, I don't think I would have probably said, why don't we try now? But if she was against it, it is what it is. Like, who am I to comment? Yeah, I'm a dad, but like, I don't put myself ahead of her. She's the one that can make those calls, because if I'm honest, 9 out of 10 times she's right. They spend that time
together, innit? Yeah.
And she's right, so I just run with it. And if I'm honest, looking at the way Ruhi is now, I can't complain. So I'm not gonna say anything different. She's not done anything that I don't feel has sort of jeopardized anything. So yeah, it just depends on where you're comfortable with. But I'd probably say 10 months to a year worked for us. It might not work for someone else, but it also depends what your scenario is. Like, you know, if mum has to go back to work earlier, that decision may be made for you.
Yeah. That's it. Well, this is one of the things that we're facing at the moment, and I know Reshma's put his name down for a local nursery for the point at which she's looking to return to work. We were discussing it just last week to say, like, whether it would be worth him going in for 5 days a week, or whether it's going to be better for us to put him in for 3 days. And again, like you say, it's always going to fall down. You did 3.
So we started off on 3 days because we just felt 5 was too much. And then when she turned 2, she went to 4 days. But she does 9 to 3:30, which I feel is a good time. I mean, 3:30 is
It's an adequate amount, isn't it?
3:30 is a bit inconvenient. Like, I'd rather 4 if I'm going to be fussy about it. But like,
Out of your routine, right?
yeah. But I do feel no, 'cause like 3:30 just turns up. You're like, what the fuck? Go pick her up already. Like, but if I'm honest, 9 to 6 for us anyway. We've mutually agreed, Natasha and I, that that's too much.
Yeah.
Like, she comes back from nursery, she's already knackered. But sometimes, once again, we're blessed enough that we can figure that out and do that plan, that we can just make it work at 3:30. But for us, as she gets older, her day's only going to become more longer anyway. She's got to learn, she's got to educate herself, but at the same time, she's still a kid. She's still got to enjoy being a kid. So
definitely.
That's
I mean, I agree with you. I think like
3
days is a good start. Do you know what I mean? And she was like, well, how are you going to get around the other 2 days? Because I've got to work and it ain't going to be me.
Right,
and I
yeah,
was like,
you just got to figure
"Whoa."
out. But then, this is where sometimes, parents, should they want to spend time with the kid, it's a good opportunity for them. But then you can't sit there,
man.
just throw them at them and say, look, I've got work, you figure it out.
you deal with them.
Yeah, you just got to find that middle ground. And, like I said, we were fortunate enough that we could figure out a 3.5-day, 3-day week. But if we couldn't, then yeah, it would have been 4 days. Like right now she does 4 days. Friday's a bit of a juggle, but sometimes at the moment Natasha's taken the odd Friday off, or we'll just sort of figure out a bit of activity. And then Natasha, I think yesterday she was working till like 11 at night, so then she's got the time on Friday to then give Ruhi her time. But that's the thing, you just figure it out, you just go along. But life is as simple as you make it.
As you make it. Yeah, 100%, man. 100%. I mean, I think we are going to start to wrap up now, but I have one last question for you. If you've got any advice for a new father, what would it be?
I'd probably just say make the most of the time that you have. Like embrace what's happening. I think for me, I was still quite taken back by it all. It took me a good 13, 14 months to really, I know it can sound silly, to warm into Ruhi, but I'd probably say it was fine. I should have just overcome that and just been more involved with her at an earlier age. But I'd probably say, I don't know, it's a hard question because you don't know what the kid's like. I'll be honest, if Ruhi was a nightmare, I don't know.
Every
what
kid's
my advice
different.
would
This
be.
is it.
Yeah. But you just embrace it. You accept. I'll tell you what. You accept that this is the next chapter of your life. That's my advice. Accept that
you have to change.
don't look back. Don't look and be like, oh look, these guys are doing this and I could be doing that. You've done that. You've enjoyed it. Sack it off. Enjoy what your next chapter
The
is.
next
I think
step. Yeah.
Just accept your next chapter.
I think that's a level of maturity thing as well. Do you know what I mean? Because obviously in your 20s, you're like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to accomplish this, my mate's doing that. And then when you get to your 30s and you're like, you know what? I'm quite comfortable with who I am. I've achieved this, that and the other. I've done this on my bucket list. Like, I'm ready for the next stage. Do you know what I mean? Or I'm comfortable with who I am as a person. I'm ready for this next chapter.
Yeah, that's why I think...
bless her. Bless her. So your wife just jumped on and she was like, he's doing himself a disservice. He was very involved.
Yeah, no, but like we just figured it out. But I'd probably say I was blessed that I've done a lot in my life before I got married and during the time we got married. So I never felt like I'd not done. So I'd probably say, like, if you haven't got kids and you want to travel, like make the most of it. But when you've got kids, you still travel. It's just different.
Yep.
Cool.
Mr. B.
Yes, mate.
Any
That's good
questions?
advice. No, that's good advice, man. Like, you're right. You just need to embrace what's coming next in your life, and yeah, enjoy what you have at the current time. If you haven't got a child yet, just enjoy what you can do beforehand.
Yeah.
A lot of people take that for granted. A lot of people look at other people and be like, oh, I wish I could do that. Or look at other people's kids and be like, oh, I wish my kid was like this or doing it.
Yeah, just
Listen,
accept
embrace what's happening in your life. Take what you can each day at a time. Everyone's life, everyone's kids are different. At the end of the day, it's how you bring them up. They're going to take after exactly what you're teaching them on a day-to-day life.
Absolutely.
And you just got to go with it, man. And that's the way to kind of approach this whole thing. And the rest of it falls into place. The whole kind of, like you're saying about going to nurseries and days this and how many days. It all falls into place when it needs to.
It all figures itself out. It all figures itself
You
out.
stress too much about it, ain't going to help no one.
Yeah. And I
Start
think
with a
that's,
certain amount of days. If it doesn't work, you add on. Okay, you start with or take off and whatever works best.
and they pick up on it. They pick up on that stress as well. Like I'm
Yeah,
not saying, like
yeah.
don't get me wrong, there were obviously days and times which were difficult and stressful and stuff like that. But if you can get past those, and you just, you know, you act as a team to get through those, you're fine.
That's part of the biggest battle as a bloke, though, isn't it? I think is making sure that your mind frame, your mindset, and your mind is available for your partner to be able to rely on you like
Absolutely.
that. Do you know what I mean? For a
Absolutely.
bloke, it's very easy to get lost in what they're doing or their own task or job, and feel slightly detached. Do you know what I mean? Because the wife would have taken the front step with the child at home. So, no, man, definitely good
So
advice.
communication's key.
100, man. 100. One thing I'd always say is that if me and Reshma didn't have such good communication, like our relationship wouldn't be what it is. I'm one of the lucky ones. Do you know what I mean? So,
Absolutely.
Bav knows that as well, considering how much I kind of get away with.
Or not. We'll see in it next week. We'll see after the show what happens, innit? Some
man.
things, yeah.
Look, this week I have said nothing incriminating or offensive.
I was gonna say this week we've been quite good this week, but we've not stepped out of line. You've been kept on your best behaviour, so yeah, it's not bad, man. You get a good night's sleep tonight.
Yeah, trust me, man. I will definitely get a good night's sleep.
Well, it's March the
Right,
14th
well, I
on
think.
Sunday.
What do you know? What I almost forgot about that. So, any tips for people that haven't bought anything yet?
No, March the 14th. What's it? No, not what's the date? 1 month after
March the 14th,
Mother's Day.
Sunday. Yeah. So it's Mother's Day, isn't
as
it?
well. Oh, okay, fine. I've got something else written in my calendar.
Oh, wow. What did you think it was?
I'll tell you after the podcast. Oh yeah, it's on the same day. Never mind. Ignore me.
Have you got some work to do, bro?
Yeah, I was gonna say, should we just call it a day so you can jump on Google quickly? Amazon Prime, man, it will be here tomorrow. Don't worry.
I'll tell you after
Mate.
when you realise.
Oh boy.
Alright, cool. No,
Well,
thanks for having me.
for
I
anyone
appreciate
that
I've had a good
hasn't,
time.
No, like, thank you very much for coming on and spending this time with
No,
us, man.
thanks
It's
for
been
having
an awesome conversation as well. We really enjoyed having you on this week. One thing that I do want to ask you, if there's anyone interested in any development projects, where can they reach out to you?
Obviously Instagram SK himself, or it's probably the best way if I'm honest, and then or email shiv.yadave@gmail.com. And then if you are someone who vapes and stuff, cloudsvapor.com.
I think you almost forgot it then, innit?
Yeah, no, it's
It's been a while.
been a while since I logged on.
No worries, no worries. Well, look,
Cool.
thank you again for spending this time with us.
No,
It's
thanks
been
to you guys.
inspirational.
Thank you very much for joining us. It's been a good laugh for the last hour and a half, nearly.
Yeah, sorry, I think we run over.
That's all right.
And there we were beforehand saying how we can last an hour.
Yeah, that's it. We do that every week. We're like, how are we going to do an hour? And time just flies, man. But no, thank you very much. It's been a good conversation. It's been interesting. So no, thank you for that.
Good.
Right. Well, I mean, on that note, Bav, is there anything else you'd like to say?
No, that's it, mate. Have a good week. And we'll see everyone next week.
Okay, I think there's only one last thing from me. Is for everyone who's tuned in and watching, just to remember that we have got a competition going on at the moment where you can win yourself a bottle of NutriBlast. They've got 4 different flavors that you can choose from. All you've got to do is like the post that we posted out on Tuesday. There are 3 more opportunities from this week after, and that is it for tonight. So thanks very much for watching. It's been a pleasure to share this time with you all, and we will see you again next week. Good night, everyone.
Good night.